Hey everybody, it's Mahadeva, the OG Thunder Wizard. All right, so I want to continue this discussion that we were having yesterday about changing the false self. And I want to once again explain to you my understanding of the Viking motto, which was, "Those who die in battle go to Valhalla," as opposed to "those who believe in Jesus go to heaven." It's a completely different mindset. But it's extremely practical. Now, of course, I'm talking about a more symbolic understanding of the phrase, because obviously I'm not advocating that anybody go out and engage in any acts of violence whatsoever. That's not what I'm saying. And I don't believe that was the original intent of the phrase, although in thousands of years ago, there was a good chance that you might have to actually live that truth. But we don't have to do that. So, if you remember yesterday, we were talking about that we come here in this human form, and this is our avatar. And that is a really important word. The original meaning of avatar was descending, and it meant Vishnu, the God of the universe, right? The source, as close to polytheists get to the one God. Vishnu is usually seen as that, and Vishnu would incarnate. And through that incarnation, there would be some lesson in which he would save the world from something. He would save human beings from some calamity or some demon or something like that. And each one of the avatars represents different aspects of the human being and has a connection to different planets. So we won't get into all that, but the avatar means the descent of this infinite, omnipowerful, omnipresent being, the creator of the universe, into limited three-dimensional reality. And this being would then, like I said, do something to save humankind from something. So when I use the word avatar, I mean it in that way, that you are an infinite, all-powerful, all-knowing being who has chosen to descend into physical form. And while you're here in physical form, you are going to accomplish something that will, ideally, help the rest of the universe, not just the human race, but the rest of the universe, evolve to the next level of being. So that's what this was all about. If you haven't watched it, watch this. I did it yesterday. And you have your true self, which is your avatar. I mean, the avatar, we could get confused on that. Let's keep it simple. Your avatar is the body and the identity that you carry around with you. There is a false avatar, and that is a word that I choose, but it is the illusion that you buy into. And it is this illusion, if you choose to embody it and identify with it and follow that, you will be given pain, misery, poverty, disease, all the horrible things that come with the potential problems in human existence. That's a result of being attached to what I'm calling the conditioned self. The conditioned self is the avatar that is given to you from your parents, from your siblings, from society, from religion, from government, from schooling. I'm not condemning any of those things. But the fact is that when you're born as a kid, people project their issues, their agendas onto you, and you have to take those on if you want to be accepted in that tribe. And this is a very old instinct within us. If you go back 20,000 years, if you weren't accepted by your tribe, what ended up happening is that they said, "Get the hell out," and you weren't allowed the protection that you needed. I mean, you needed other people in order to survive. So we have this built into us. So our immediate tribe is our family, and whatever craziness they have, if they project that onto us, we have to put that suit on and wear it in order to survive. And if that suit carries with it things that take you away from your authentic self, which is your soul, you're going to be filled with misery. On the other hand, if you learn how to die in battle, as the Vikings would say, then what will happen is that you will have access to your true authentic self, where you are willing to be and act according to your true nature, even if it means your death, because it will. Not on a physical level, at least, not nowadays. Back in the Middle Ages, it might have meant that. If you said, hey, I'm not buying into this whole Christian Catholic thing, they would kill you for that. Muslims still do that today. They'll chop your head off. In fact, the word Islam means I surrender. They say it means I submit. No, it's they'd come into whatever town or village, and they'd put a sword to your neck, and you'd say, Islam, I surrender. Okay, fine, I'll convert. So that has some meaning, because in some instances, living your true self might mean taking the risk of actually losing your life. But those who are willing to lose their life in order to honor their true self will achieve Valhalla. Valhalla is not something in the afterlife. Valhalla is in the afterlife, and it is in the present life. And attaining Valhalla means that you live with Odin, the master of shamanic awareness, he Woden, he who is consumed by the fury or by the ecstasy of self-awareness. And you get to be one of his warriors that goes out and fights against the armies of Surt, who is the demon associated with the destruction of the world. So those who go to Valhalla are those who live in that state of, as Jehovah would put it, I am that I am. And so instead of worshiping something else that knows what it is, you become the self-known. You know yourself. And so this is one way of looking at it, which is dying in battle, you go to Valhalla. Now, that is really important. Our ancestors, 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, they didn't have to struggle with these things of, I don't want to be looked on badly, and the kind of stuff we deal with today, the false spirituality of I don't have any negativity within me. And what I mean by negativity is, the struggle. The negativity that you have within you, the fear, the anger, the jealousy, the victim mentality, the whatever it is that you have that you're not supposed to have, because spiritual people don't have any negative feelings. Those are the things that you have to struggle with and overcome in order to go to Valhalla. But first, you have to accept that you have them. And so our ancestors wrote in there, life is going to be filled with challenges. There's going to be conflict within you. And this is, you knew this before you came here. You were this infinite soul. You were Vishnu. You really were. I mean that. Vishnu is you. You were Vishnu, and you were everything, and you were full of bliss, and you were full of love, and you created the universe. You knew all that, and you knew that when you descended, even Vishnu has 11 avatars. So according to Hindu mythology, Vishnu incarnates 11 separate times. Now, reality is that the true Vishnu, which is you, before you became human, you committed to the reality that I don't know how long I'm going to be down there for, but it could be hundreds, if not thousands of times. And I understand this, and I understand that there's going to be conflict. And each human lifetime I experience, there will be conflict. When I get fully connected to my true essence, which is not something I'm looking to do immediately, I am looking to enjoy the video game, to enjoy the adventure. But when I get to the end of the adventure, for me, which we don't know what that is yet, I will have full awareness of myself as Woden, he or she who is consumed with the fire of self-awareness. Wod. Wod means the ecstasy of shamanic awareness, the fury. I found myself. That's Woden. He who is filled with it. En means consisting of. He himself is not awareness, but he is consumed with it. He is the essence of it. He has become that, which means that he has no self. He has no false self. He has no conditioned self. He's not thinking about what mom and dad want me to do or what society wants me to do, and he has no fear. He's not thinking about, will people love me? Will people accept me? Will I be successful? Will I not be successful? He hung on the tree of life, which is your spinal column. Your spinal column houses your kundalini. Your kundalini is not, as people want to tell you, life force energy of the universe. That is not what kundalini is. Kundalini is your human psychological interface with external reality. It can save you or destroy you. That is why there's a lot of people who claim to have Kundalini awakenings who talk about how horrible it is, that their nerves tingle, that they're filled with ecstasy and depression. They believe, in one sentence they'll tell you that they are God, and then in the next sentence that the demons are out to attack them. They're nuts. That's because their Kundalini, which is their human identity interface with this body and with this three-dimensional reality, is on the fritz. It's going through some, there's some problems. So but they think, no, I've achieved enlightenment and awareness. No, you're nuts. Your Kundalini has been activated, but it's erratic and imbalanced. Whereas when Kundalini arises in a balanced way, you become aware on the 7 levels of maturity, which are the chakras. The chakras are not open my third eye and I'll see the truth. That's not it. These are all different levels of awareness. And according to Norse mythology, we talked about this in my book that I was just reading, a shaman named Gilf was in shamanic trance, and he came to this giant building where, of course, Odin was residing. And outside of that building was a guy who was juggling 7 swords. That means that in order to get to the 3 aspects of your inner being, Odin, Vili, and Ve, you must first juggle the 7 swords. Swords are symbols of the spinal column. You don't have 7 spinal columns, you have 7 chakras that are actually places. Your spinal column goes up, and as your kundalini, which is that energy which animals don't have, which is the human mentality interface between you and 3-dimensional reality, your spiritual false identity, because that's what it is. It's an illusion. As it climbs up your spinal column, it goes through different parts of the body, which then shine out onto your existence. This is a chakra. That chakra is a portal for your kundalini, not your soul. Your kundalini looks through the portal of, let's say, the heart chakra. And as it's peering through the heart chakra, it is seeing things from the color that the heart chakra puts over the soul's eyes. The human identity. Now it's looking through, this is kind of a greenish, whatever the hell this is, right? Makes things look a little more green, which actually is the heart chakra. And so you experience the lesson that is associated with that. Just because your heart chakra is open does not mean you are conscious or mature, because the lower lesson of the heart chakra is cults. People who are in cults are working through their heart chakra, but they are of the lower vibration, the mistake, the immaturity that says, You all have to be part of my thing. And if we all worship Zohar the Magnificent, and if you put this funny little Z on your forehead, and if you come to the temple and you do all this stuff and wear the magic Z on here and do all the things that we say, you will be saved. And that's because the heart wants to connect. Now, like a little child, somebody found Zohar and said, Zohar's it. So since Zohar works for me, that has to be what you have to do. And then you end up with a cult or a religion. Because it's the same. Religion is the heart center trying to work through its childishness, its narcissism. And then once it works through that, then the heart chakra evolves to the point where it goes, oh, it's not about you doing my thing. It's about you doing your thing and me doing my thing. But we connect on the similarities that we're both, oh, I get it now. I'm sorry, you don't have to. In fact, this whole religion thing's kind of stupid, isn't it? Let's create another one. Well, so that's the heart chakra. So those are the swords you have to juggle to get to Odin, Vili, and Ve. Right? So I forgot what I was talking about, but in order to get to your authentic self, you are going to have to die multiple times. Obviously not physically, because then you wouldn't be physically here. You're going to have to emotionally, spiritually, psychologically. You're going to have to go through multiple deaths. And you are going to go through experiences of fear. You're going to go through experiences of having to let go. And you will not achieve the success of your soul until you're willing to do that. You must be willing to do whatever the hell it takes. You must be willing to divorce your wife. You must be willing to stop talking to your parents. You must be willing to let go of your six-figure job. I'm not saying you have to. You have to be willing to. If you're not willing to, then you could potentially get trapped in your false conditioned self of, I have to follow the rules and I have to live this way and I have to do that and I have to throw myself away for, I have to carry my cross and it's not about me, it's about God's glory. And that's your conditioned self. And that works real well in our empirical society. But it does not work for achieving your greatest happiness, which is the whole point of this. The whole point of this is for you to be woden, filled with the ecstasy of your self-knowledge, your experience of your true self. So with that in mind, I was talking yesterday during I was talking with, I forget his name, Jason. And Jason has a very hard time letting go of his fear. And so I was trying to help him. He didn't want to hear what I had to say. Now, bear in mind, I have nothing against Jason. I only wish him the best. But when, as a teacher, and if you're coming on here and watching me, I assume that you think I have something that you want. If not, there's plenty of other channels to go to. You won't hurt my feelings. But if you come here, my job is to tell you the truth, not to make you happy. It's your job to make yourself happy. My job is to tell you the truth as I see it, and then it's up to you to do it or not do it. And I don't have an agenda one way or another. But if somebody wants to engage in a conversation with me, I'm going to use that as an example for everybody else. And if I see if somebody's in unconscious resistance, if I see that they're lying to themselves, if they're not able to see what it is they really want, I'm going to tell you. And I might do it in ways you don't like. So that's okay. So let me take a look at his comment, because we had a comment, and this hopefully will be the last that we talk about it, but it'll be whatever it's going to be. And so let me get to those comments here. Hang on a sec. Sorry, I should have been ready. But I'm not going to worry about it. All right, so let's get to this here. Haven't responded. And where is he? There he is. All right, so we go this big back and forth. I won't read you the whole thing because there's one thing. He finally gets to what he really wants from me, which means that on the one hand, he's on the verge of dying to himself and having what he wants. And he's trying to allow me to help him, but at the same time, he's also fighting with me, trying to get me to buy into his block. He has a block that is preventing him from achieving his success in his dream. And he wants me to co-sign that for him, which I'm not doing, which is why he keeps wanting to argue with me. And I understand that. I'm not judging him. We all do it. Let me just find out where it is. I'm going to get to just what he says. So here's what he says. What I want to do, because what he was having problems with is the whole idea of resistance. And what I was saying yesterday was that your unconscious resistance to you following your true self, your soul desire, is going to come at you in every possible way. It's not going to come to you and say, hey, look, I'm here to block you from finding your true happiness, so could you please not do it? Because you go, well, no, of course I'm going to do it. I'm not going to listen to you. It doesn't do that. It comes to you in whatever way will stop you. It really is, if there is a devil, it is your own unconscious resistance. It's your fear to your evolution. And it's a natural thing. We fear it because, like I said, it feels like death. That's why every single religion has some symbology surrounding dying to the self, because it feels like death. We don't want to die. Your body works very hard to keep itself alive. It resists dying. So your unconscious is the devil, meaning it is trying to lure you down the false path of living your false identity, which will bring misery. But it's going to tell you whatever it needs to tell you, whether that is through fear, through guilt, through greed, through laziness, through any kind of intellectual thing. It's going to come at you at whatever it can do, just like what con men do. Con men look for what your weaknesses are and find the weakness in you and then exploit that to get you to have confidence in them. Your unconscious mind is a con man. And your unconscious resistance is whatever strategy the con man is using to convince you not to do the one thing that will destroy it. Of course, it always comes back. But here's what he says. He says, what I want to do is become very clear on the resistance that is trying to keep me away from what is good for my soul, but I want to keep the resistances that serve me. And he gives this very bad example of, for instance, I have resistance towards driving drunk. That's not resistance, that's just common sense. Resistance in this case has to do with resisting going after your soul desire. There's nothing about driving drunk that has anything to do with your soul desire. So I have fear of falling off a cliff. That's not resistance. If I'm walking on the edge of a cliff and I'm afraid of falling off the cliff and I choose not to fall off the cliff by stepping back, that doesn't mean, that's not resistance. So what Jason wants is he wants to muddy the water so that he can't tell the difference between his unconscious resistance and his common sense or natural fears. The main thing here, which I'm coming to believe about Jason has not done anything yet. So all he's doing now is he's coming up with potential scenarios, and he wants to get lost in what if this scenario, what if that scenario, what if this. Now, if I'm wrong, Jason, and you hear this, you can tell me. I'm willing to bet, I don't know this for a fact, I can't remember if we talked about it, because I know that you and I have only had, this is, by the way, why it's important to have a teacher, have a mentor. I don't think Jason has one. But he works with me from afar, so he's doing whatever he wants to do. Okay, that's fine. But I'm willing to bet, Jason, you still live with your parents, right? You're not self-sufficient financially. And you have this dream, as you said, you want to become, in the music industry. And so you're sitting at home in your parents' basement coming up with all of the scenarios about what could go wrong. That's what I think. So this is what he says. What I want to do is become very clear on the resistance that's trying to keep me away from what is good for my soul, but I want to keep the resistances that serve me. And then he says, and this is an assumption on his part, He says, if I can better discern the two, then I can go after the resistances to my soul desire and ignore the pathways that are not aligned with me. So one problem is you're not supposed, your focus is all off. Because what I keep telling everybody, and Jason included, is the only thing you do is you go after your soul desire. You don't worry about anything else. Stuff's going to come up. Jason wants to deal with his resistance. He wants to make his resistance go away. I'm telling you, it's not going to go away. You don't know, you're not going to know ahead of time what that resistance is until you start going after it. Just like when martial arts. If you get into a fight with somebody, you might be able to take a look at them and see what their habits are, and maybe if you're lucky you might, but you're not going to know what's going to happen until you get in that ring. And if you expect that they're not going to give you resistance, then you're in the wrong game. So, and then I have a retort to him, which I'm not going to share with you. And then he says later, this is what he says. At some point he says, I'm trying to find out exactly what it was. If I can find it, I will. If not, I'll just tell you what I remember what it was. Yeah, he says, I'm asking what the difference between those kinds of resistances will feel like in the body. In other words, he has already assumed that there's this good resistance and bad resistance. And there isn't. There's just your unconscious resistance, which may come in the form of fear. What he's saying is some fear is good. I want to know which fear is bad and which one is good. It's not fear if you know what it is. If you know that the resistance coming to you is, oh, that's that false ego coming at me, you're not going to have any fear. So it's not resistance. So Jason isn't getting the whole idea of resistance. You can't know what your opponent's going to bring to you, which is your unconscious mind, and you're not going to know ahead of time. He wants to know, I want to know what the differences feels like in my body. I'm asking to attune my intuition and sniff out resistance. Why are you spending all of this time trying to figure out your fears? Your fears are going to come up when you take action. If you're sitting on your ass in your parents' basement not doing anything, and the only fear you have right now is the fear of just getting started. So that's the fear you have. That fear is trying to stop you by getting you wrapped up in this intellectual, well, some fear is good and some fear is bad, and I want to know which fear is good and which. If you know which one is good and bad, it's no longer fear, which is what you want. You want to be without fear. Well, I'm sorry to tell you that's not how it works. And you gotta own it. You gotta pull your nutsack up. You just got to do it. You're going to fall on your face. People are going to attack you, definitely in the beginning, especially if you're going to go into that business. You want to go into the music business? I mean, and you want to not be personally attacked? I'm sorry, but that's the wrong business to be in. I was an actor for years. I come on here and I do this thing. And when I started my channel, that's when I got the worst personal attacks. Horrific. So you got to be willing to die in battle. Literally. You have to be literally willing to die in battle, and you have to literally be willing to lose everything, including your life. And if you're not willing to do that, it's not going to work. You're 75% there. That's a good start. You can go ahead and take action with 75%. But if you're only willing to go 75% of the way, if whatever it is you're not willing to do, that's what's going to stop you. When I started this channel, I made the decision, it was probably 10 years ago. When I started this channel, I made the decision that I was going to make my living on YouTube. I didn't know what that meant. At that time, I thought maybe I'll get a big enough channel I can live off of the advertisement, percentage that Google throws at you. I didn't know. I found out very quickly that for me was not going to happen, maybe ever. I had to come up with other ways. So I decided I was going to do whatever the hell it took. For me, at that point, I had been divorced, lost everything. I was making $500 a month on book sales, and that was it. And I was living in a cabin in the woods of North Idaho. I was literally the last cabin that had electricity, and I had to get my internet through the satellite dish. And in my front yard was this big sign that said, "National Forest beyond this point, you know, you're entering grizzly bear area." I'm not kidding. And there would be giant moose walking down, you know, and one time, you know, I was walking down the road, the dirt road back to my cabin, and I couldn't go anywhere because this enormous moose with its calf was standing in front of me. And, you know, it was getting ready to come after me. And I couldn't go anywhere because the brush was too thick. So I had to sit there and wait. It took me like 20 minutes for the thing to finally get past the driveway to my cabin, and then I rushed in there. I was willing to do whatever the hell it took. And what I did was I started doing psychic readings on the phone with the runes. And I had no idea. I'm not psychic, and I didn't really know how to do rune readings yet. But I was going to do whatever the hell it took. I was not going to work somebody else's job. I was going to do what I chose to do, even if it killed me. That's just one example. I mean, there's others. I could give you more examples of. I've gone through that I don't know how many times in my life. If you're not willing to do that, you won't succeed. Just don't even bother. Okay? So I'm happy to take questions. This is a question and answer. Just be aware, if you leave a comment or a question and it's not an honest question, there's a good chance you're putting a target on yourself, and I'm going to come after you. You're going to show your hubris. You're going to show your narcissism. You're going to show maybe your lack of understanding, whatever it is. So the thing that you can get away with most easily is ask me an honest question about what I teach. So let's see. All right, I don't know what that is, but I'm glad I was helpful to you. I don't see any questions here. So let's talk about the 90-day challenge. 90-day challenge. This is what keeps this channel on the air, not the 90-day challenge. Thunderwizard.com. What I'm going to eventually work towards doing, which I don't know how long it'll take. It'll depend on, my success at getting people on here. But my plan is to have the thunderwizard.com subscription site become where people get all of their information that normally they get by buying different video packages from them. So if you go to courses.thunderwizard.com, you see all these different packages and certifications and things like that, and you have to buy those things. So that is really what gives me the ability to pay my bills. And then I can come on here and do all these hours and hours. I've got 1,000 videos now, so I can continue to do these free videos. That's what keeps me paying the rent. So what I want to do is I want to have enough people who have subscribed to the Thunder Wizard site to such a degree that I can take all of those video teachings, the Qigong, whatever the hell it is, Vedic astrology, exiting the matrix, all those other things, and I can just upload them to the Patreon site, and then you don't have to pay, $300-400 for a video thing. You can just go and whatever monthly subscription you're willing to pay, you just for that month watch as many videos as you want. You don't like it, unsubscribe. But the more people that I have subscribed, the more stuff will be available to people, and it'll cost everybody less money. So this 90-day challenge is something new also. I sit around, I do a lot of talking. That's great. But as we can see with Jason, talk means this much. The action is what counts. For most of us, including myself, we need the power to take the action. We can have the knowledge. We can know what it is that we want. We can even know what our unconscious mind is doing to stop us. But that doesn't give us the power to take action. You have to have the power to take action and achieve your Valhalla. Odin spent 9 days and nights hung on the tree of life. Tree of life is the spinal column. And the power that he gained was from his Kundalini. He was able to go through the process of dying to himself. He sacrificed himself to his self, to his little self, to his big self. And that's what we all have to do. And the power of Kundalini is one way to do that. So the first part of this, which is the morning exercise, I teach very simple yogic exercises that I learned from 20 years of practicing and teaching Kundalini Yoga. And I know which ones work really well to open up the heart center. And because I am who I am now, 57 years age, I'm now, into powerlifting, and I've injured myself and all that. I can't twist myself up into pretzels like I used to. So I have to do the really simple exercises that also have the most effectiveness. The good thing for you is that I don't take you through this whole hour-and-a-half yoga routine. I just take you through very simple exercises that open up the heart center and allow the Kundalini to open up the heart center, which allows you to know what your true soul desire is. It gives you an opportunity to work with my guides, because these are the things they gave me to give to you. So you get connected to my, my support system of ascended masters that teach you. And then there's a midday practice where you get to take a look at your conditioned self. And how is your unconscious resistance? What is it telling you? In Jason's case, it's telling you need to figure out the two kinds of resistances. Well, that would come to him and you go, oh, that whole thing about figuring out the two resistances, that is my unconscious resistance right there. And he would write that down and he'd figure that out. And then the nighttime practice, which connects you directly to the power of chi, the life force energy. It connects you to the matrix. The matrix is the hologram, the holodeck that is your world. And your world is a program, just like they say in the Matrix movies, although it's not a computer program. But it is a web of life force energy that has consciousness and is programmed to respond directly to your conscious intent. Now, if you are filled with unconscious resistance, your conscious intent gets very confused. But if you figure out exactly how to flip the switch on and know how to push the buttons in the matrix, it will give you exactly what you tell it to give you. So for that, you need life force energy. You need chi. And then we're going to take that energy and merge it with our heart and connect our heart to our navel center, which is actually the powerhouse, the unconscious mind, which has both your resistance and your ability to create your reality. This is all in one wonderful little package called the unconscious. The unconscious can work against you, but when it's in alignment with your soul, which is what you want, which is what we do in the nighttime practice, when your unconscious is aligned with your soul, then you literally just think what you want and it becomes reality. Okay? So for that, you'd go to thunderwizard.com, click around until you find the button for the 90-day challenge, the Warrior 90-day challenge. And then it's not me talking. We do the exercises together. You just hit play. You listen to me narrating it. You just follow what I'm doing and listen to what I say. You don't have to do anything. I even have the mantra and everything. I connect mantra to, it's incredibly powerful. And it's what I do for myself. So I don't know what more I can offer than that. If you want what I have, you got to do what I do. And now I show you exactly what it is that I do. All right, so I do see a question that's just popped up. Marie Ann, question, how do I undo my religious guilt? All right, so this is what we're talking about. You have the assumption that you have to change your feelings. This is something new. Again, let's look at dying in battle. Battle is battle. If you're sitting there going, okay, so can we change it from battle to playing tiddlywinks? It's no longer battle. But that's what we've been trained to do ever since Christianity came into our society. We went from being these warriors who go out and earn our life through our hard work and through following our dreams. We turned into these people who wait around for God to give it to us. Oh God, please give me this, and Lord bless me, and if it's your will, but not my will, but yours be done. Right? We've been trained how to do this. And how that manifests is in exactly this kind of question. How can I get rid of my uncomfortable feelings? You're not supposed to get rid of your uncomfortable feelings. You're supposed to take contrary action. There's a whole army out there with shields, and they're banging their swords on their shields, and they've got, they've filed their teeth into points, and they are really scary looking, and you can tell that they're, one guy has half his ear off, and the other guy's got a scar down his face. These are badasses, and they are not afraid to take your punch, and they're coming for you. So there's no part of that where they soften things up for you to make battle easy. So asking me to help you undo your religious guilt is like taking away the army. I can't do that. Your religious guilt is there, so you do the opposite of it. Whatever religious guilt tells you to do. Carry your cross. Well, don't carry your cross. Do not do anything for your own glory, but only for God's. Well, then do things for your own glory. Now, you're not going to make your guilt go away by doing that. You're going to make it worse. Because you've been programmed not to piss off Jehovah. You've been programmed not to piss off Jesus or to hurt his feelings. Actually, Jesus just gets his feelings hurt. Forgive them, for they know not what they do. So you don't want to make poor Jesus sad. So, all right, I'll walk around and I'll carry my cross and I'll do the exact opposite. And your guilt will get worse. But then you'll see through it and you'll get past it. Once you get past it, like, again with Jason doesn't know the joys that are going to come from him living his dream because he hasn't started living it yet. He knows he's afraid, and he knows that he's going to be more afraid, and he knows that it's going to be difficult and challenging in all kinds of ways. But what he doesn't know yet is how amazingly freeing it's going to be when he gets paid to go and choreograph, some dance routine. He won't know what that is until he faces those really nasty guys that want to take his, chop his head off. So I can't undo your religious guilt, and neither can you. There are things you can do. I think there's some self-help group out there for recovering Christians or recovering fundamentalists. Or I think if you look, you can find groups where you can get together and talk with people, because if you have religious guilt, you've been in a cult, and you need to deprogram. So there's an answer. How do you undo your religious guilt? But the way I look at it is, you've got religious guilt, you know it. Now figure out what your soul wants to do and go do it. And then deal with the guilt as it comes up, because it's going to come up. Again, it's like saying, how can I get those guys out there to not want to kill me? Well, then it's not battle anymore. So if you want to go make a peace treaty with them, you can. Unfortunately, the way life is set up is that it is a battle. It's a battle for you to battle against your own false, conditioned self that you co-created with your family, your friends, and everybody else in order to fit in. So you have to be willing to not fit in. See what else? What is religious guilt? Well, go Google that. Okay, so Alta, the way this works, I appreciate questions. Again, if there's not any questions, then I'll look at somebody's statement. But again, you're setting yourself up for me to slice you to pieces. I'm just telling you. It's just the way I work. All right. I find myself often getting overexcited and obsessive, going on tangents that don't always serve me. I understand this is a process of learning and stop to ask myself, does this help or hinder me? At this moment, but I feel I've been brought to your page for a reason, so I was asking. All right. So all of that to get to the question, the way you do the question is you write the word question, and then you write your question, and then I'll answer it. I was asking whether you had any guidance for me. You didn't ask that, so this is what I mean. Let's take a look. You say, really appreciate your guidance. That's not a question, that's a statement. I have no idea. The first time I read it, I thought you were just saying that you appreciated my videos. You're asking me for guidance? That's not clear. It came on shuffle while reminiscing to old music of mine. Relate to this story of Jason. Music is the craft I will use for the greater good. Where's the question? You said, I'm asking whether you had any guidance for me. If you have a question, write it out. I'm not psychic. I said earlier I wasn't psychic. And then Juliana says she has a question. I was asking Marie Ann. All right, sorry, I'm right. Great. See what happens? I get confused. Vincent.thunderwizard.com. If you want to get a Vedic reading from Vincent, who is one of my apprentices, you can see there. Vincent.thunderwizard.com. You can go and get a reading from him, and whatever else he does, you can get that from him. And you can also, if you want to, you can get the lockdown package. I'm going to take 2 more of those lockdown packages, and then I'm going to retire that forever. You can go to the lockdown package, and you can get that at a severely discounted rate, which is you can become a certified astrologer in my type of astrology and do the kind of astrology readings that I do, and I'll put you on my website and I'll give you a web page like I gave Vincent. And you can have, if you want, you can have your own astrology business. All right, no more questions? No questions. I think I've done my my business for the day, the 90-day challenge, thunderwizard.com, courses.thunderwizard.com. If you want to achieve enlightenment, here's what you do. 2 things, it's real simple. You subscribe and hit the bell button. If you do that, you will immediately achieve enlightenment. And if you want to become an ascended master, then of course you subscribe at the thunderwizard.com page. But you know, it's up to you, whatever it is that works best for you. All right, I don't see any more questions here, so I am going to get ready. I've got other stuff I'm doing today. The weather's phenomenal. I chose not to go surfing. I'll have to get over that choice, but I got other fun stuff I'm going to do. All right, that's it for me, guys. I will see you next time I see you. And stay safe. Stay safe, and Arnold Schwarzenegger is running for president, so vote for him. And yeah, don't do stupid stuff. All right, see you guys later.